Part 39. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 382. 388 Secrets. The people inside were suddenly alarmed. Huang Zixuan turned back in a hurry and ran away, ran down the stairs, and patted her chest, secretly yelling. "Zixuan, what's the matter with you?" Zhang Hui's voice suddenly sounded behind her. She was a little confused. The sunspot was gone. Why did Huang Zixuan not return for a long time? "It's okay, I just ran fast, a little panting, he Huang Zixuan chuckled quickly. Zhang Hui is a bit strange. How could a monk breathe so easily? But she didn't think much, and asked, "What about the sunspots?" Huang Zixuan said, "Can't tell you, they're doing that kind of thing." She quickly said, "He went to Sister Baijier's house to guide his little apprentice." "Oh, then forget it." Huang Zixuan was relieved, and finally passed away. Hey, in fact, it was Baijier's little apprentice who was comforting his brother. But behind Zhang Hui, her flexible little head thought again that Sister Wu Yi had eaten him with her mouth. "I don't know what it smells like, is it delicious? Brother Hezi also wants to eat for me?" Huang Zixuan's little head immediately surrounded countless problems. As soon as Huang Zixuan was disturbed, the two men's good deeds came to an end. In short, there are many kinds, it is also very romantic, very exciting, and space reasons, I will not say much, let's mainly talk about the cultivation of immortals. Returning from Surabaya city, Yekong propped up the alchemy furnace in the innermost stone room of Dongfu, released the water and fire gourd, and began to refine the high-end spiritual beast. Yekong is relatively good at the charms, he still has no talent for alchemy, and the chance of failure is still very high. Fortunately, there is the alchemy experience that Ruolin has given to him, otherwise he cannot succeed. How can the high-level spirit beast Dan be so good? Although he was arguing with the two girls every day and firing guns with Baijier, this did not affect his thinking of practicing Ruolin. After all, the two experienced so many lives, died together, and thrilling days, even if you want to forget, how can you forget? However, this thought does not constitute a knot, nor will it have any impact on cultivation, because Yekong and Lian Ruolin both believe that one day they will reunite. Let's talk about alchemy. In addition to the experience of refining Ruolin, the success of Yekong, as well as the preciousness of the main materials, made his alchemy possible. Of course, even then, the success rate is very low. But Ye has a big characteristic, that is, he loves to use his brain in everything. Soon he had a solution. The low success rate means that there is still the possibility of success. I'll make more per furnace, as long as one of them is successful, isn't it enough? There is a saying, well, 10 nets fishing 9 nets, catch a net and succeed. So Yekong exchanged a large Dan furnace, each furnace is 60 high-level spirit beasts, 1 tube for 1 month, 60, 5 years is enough. Of course, this kind of thing is also achieved by Yema talents. You have to know how many herbs there are in each oven. He chose all the main materials for 3,000 years. What a great number to replace it with a spiritual stone. I don't know how many 3,000 years of wormwood were cultivated. Until later, Yekong found that the polysaccharides that he often used were getting worse and worse. Yekong then understood. This soil is a special soil containing a lot of spiritual power. If the spiritual power is used up, it will become real soil, ordinary soil. This is why the world is getting less and less and finally disappearing. However, the spiritual power of Xiang can also be supplemented, which is why Xiang likes to eat spiritual stones. But you can't make it eat too much, just like that sip of the soil. Yekong has not yet understood what this thing is and what it does. However, Yekong knew that the sperm-forming soil could not cultivate elixir. After countless times of alchemy, finally, a furnace of high-order spirit beast was successfully obtained, and 2 furnaces were considered a semi-successful one. Yekong now has 60 high-level spirit beasts and 120 middle-level spirit beasts. Yekong originally planned to give the high-level spirit beast Dan to Deu for training, and the rest of the middle level let her eat it as a snack. But when he called out Deu, he found that this girl had no interest in the mid-level spirit beast Dan. It seems that the divine beast is the divine beast. It is not good to eat and drink well. Deu does not eat, Yekong is more happy. Anyway, the inverse feather gold sculpture is about to come out soon. Before entering the battle, give the middle level spirit beast Dan to Zhang Wei and let her feed the inverse feather gold sculpture. A small character like a golden carving, the middle level spirit beast Dan is very satisfied with it. Yekong's alchemy did not, of course, tell the 2 girls, and their prohibition could not open this quiet room. However, the 2 girls did not follow up. This is good in the Kangnan mainland, and everyone respects each other's secrets. After all, everyone has a secret. Secret is the foundation of life-saving. The person who lets others see through at a glance is the fastest person to die. But what makes the 2 girls weird is that when this kid is often fine recently, he will use a low-order magic weapon to cut a piece of wood and cut the wood into a short stick. After a few days, I felt dissatisfied and broke the stick into pieces. Neither girl knew what the boy was doing. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 383. On the ring of Yaba Sandong House. Everyone is not practicing these days, they are relaxing, and they can do more with less if they are in good condition. Wait until the time, enter into the array, build the foundation. But there is one more thing that has not been settled. That is the candidate to see Dongfu. Some of the spirits and fruits in Dongfu are hundreds of years old. It would be a pity if they were ruined, and if Cao Guang knew it, he would be distressed. So it is necessary to find a girl. However, there was no suitable candidate, and Yekong had to register a miscellaneous errand at Xihaitang according to what Cao Junfan said. It stands to reason, Yekong's job is still very easy to find someone. This errand is neither tiring nor painful, and in addition to the 10 spiritual stones in the ancestral gate, Yekong also paid 5 spiritual stones for labor services, and even specifically stated that they did a good job and there were bonus spirits. Stone. This is definitely a good job. But no one has been registered. Very strange thing. Yekong also knew that the situation was normal. It must be that Cao Muking's woman suppressed him, and the errand was not sent out, so the female disciples in the outer hall could not get the news. Finally, Dong said, she went to the outer hall and asked if any of the little sisters were willing to do it. But Yekong stopped her, because even if she found the girl, Cao Muking would definitely make the female nun difficult. Yekong is not afraid of Cao Muking, but others are afraid. Suddenly one day, someone finally came to sign up to do the chores. Yekong, who was refining the alchemy in the quiet room, received a note from outside and stood up in doubt, is Cao Muking the woman's conscience found? After finishing his clothes, Yekong walked out of the alchemy room, opened the ban on the outermost level of the Dongfu house, and let the female disciple who came to sign in. When he saw the applicant coming in, Yekong was still confused. Why are you? Why can't it be me? The female disciple came with a big white eye and asked back. No, I only recruit adult female workers and do not accept minors, Yekong said with a wave of his hand. The female amendment coming to the application is Cao Muking Dongfu, the girl is cunning, and she is rich in money. Most importantly, she is Cao Muking Dongfu. If she changes jobs, Cao Muking hates herself? Although Yekong wasn't afraid of Cao Muking, he wouldn't be in trouble. Are you full? What minor? Every mortal girl has as many children as I have children, Dodo said resentfully. Yekong laughed. It's really childish. Do you know what it is to have children? Do you know what to have children? Duo asked, will you recruit miscellaneous servants to have children or care for the Dongfu medicine garden? After that, you sent a relentless smirk, I want to have children with me. I'm not done yet. Do you think I want to do it? Yekong glared at the bull's eye and waved his hand. No, you can go back and wait for your ancestors, Cao Muking, don't come here to mess with me. Duo smiled, came arrogantly, and asked, are you afraid that Cao Muking's ancestors will bother you? Well, you can rest assured. I told my ancestors that I did not leave her. Sighed, just doing a part-time job for you. Yekong fainted, and could not think of a female monk from the Kangnan mainland who also worked part-time. Little girl, you are still young. It's too early to do part-time work. Yekong laughed angrily. I just do part-time work at this point, and don't look at your figure, well, but then again, this blossom is not very old, and the figure is already alike. What's the matter? I don't understand what you're talking about. Daodu little girl put her arms on her hips and raised her face and asked, how? Would you like it? I can tell you, if you don't want me, no one will. I'm here to make you maid. No one does it for me and I don't want you, Yehalo said, 80% of them are little spies sent by Cao Muking's woman, and no one can accept her. However, the plan is not as good as it is being changed. Zhang Weihai and Huang Zixuan came in. When they saw the pink little girl, they all gathered together. Both girls are child-loving people. When they see the blossoming, they see the Tang Seng like a monster, their eyes are bright, one touches the blossoming head, and one pinches the blossoming pink face, then giggles. Non-stop. Where did the little girl come from? How cute and silly, Zhang Weihai asked, touching his blossoming head. She and Huang Zixuan are both afraid of Cao Muking, and it is even impossible to go to the BT woman's Dongfu, so they have never seen the blossoming. Sister, that blackbird bullied me, blossoming as if to see a loved one, with a small mouth slipped, he had the expression to cry at any time. Zhang Weihai's eyes glared, and he immediately looked at a black man. Cucumber Crush is even more indignant. Brother Heza, you are too much. You won't let go of such a small girl? Hey. Duo, you can make it clear. How did I bully you? Yekong Fury refers to Duo. He is called the plague in the southern capital. Of course, there is also plague god. Don't look at him, he usually giggled, and even when angry, even the little Pepper and Cucumber Crush were a little scared. The blossoming was a big eyes, tears rolling down. However, in the face of such a wicked person that even a little girl did not let go, Zhang Weihai took up his courage and asked his chest, Sex, what the is going on? If you don't make it clear, I will ignore you. Looking at the little girl with tears in her face, Huang Zixuan also overflowed with love and followed, I will ignore you. Yekong shook his head and smiled bitterly, why don't you even believe me? You are all fooled. This girl is a ghost. She was originally a girl from Cao Muking Dongfu. Now she wants to come to me as a part-time job. Bully her. How can such a two-faced person take it? What 2 sides and 3 swords, I don't want me to just bully me. What did you tell me just now to have children? Duo retorted with tears. After Duo said that, Zhang Weihai and Huang Zixuan understood that they had blamed brother Heza, and they were both apologetic. Zhang Weihai touched Duo's head and said, Duo, why don't you speak clearly? It made us blame him. Duo didn't refute, she knew that she was sobbing and whimpering, and her head was drilled hard to Zhang Weihai's chest. Huang Zixuan looked distressed and said, forget it, don't blame her. Where does the little girl say clearly, bullying has a lot of meanings? She made it clear that she intentionally misled you. Yekong snorted angrily, curled up his robe, and sat on the big chair. After comforting for a while, Daodu cried gradually. Zhang Wei came over and whispered, "Don't be angry, hey, we misunderstood you. I apologize to you, but you're usually too erotic, so we are like that. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 384. Under the Yawan Road. Forget it, Yekong didn't want to blame them. The key is that Daodu's little girl is too ghostly and pretends to be too good. If Ye hasn't contacted her before, maybe she should believe her. "Then you are going to take her?" Zhang Wei asked again. "Of course I do, auntie accepted, didn't I say that?" Yekong was afraid of Zhang Wei's love overflowing, and whispered, "You know? According to my conditions, many female disciples should sign up, but why so far only Dodo alone? Obviously, she is the woman Cao Mooking sent to monitor us." Zhang Wei obviously already thought of this. He wasn't surprised when he heard it, but said, "Brother Heze, have you ever thought about it? If Cao Mooking can't do this, maybe he will get along with other tricks. You will soon enter in a big battle, we also have to retreat. We might as well count it. We have no secrets anyway. And, after all, Blossoming is a little girl. If it is not successful, you will be punished by the woman if you go back. Can she hear the news of Cao Mooking from her?" In other words, Yekong didn't care, but in the last sentence, he got absorbed. "Yes, I also want to inquire about Cao Mooking Dongfu's news. Sooner or later, she will go to her who stole the high-end rune paper. It really is a good wife." Yekong laughed and rubbed Zhang Fanyi's drums. "To you, Xian is still there." Zhang Wei was flushed with his face, and quickly stood away. "Well, now that my wife has promised you, I won't say much, but my errand indicated the probation period, and before I entered the big team, I finally confirmed your identity of the girl ring. I hope you will do your best duty, do your deeds well, and irrelevant to you, chew the tongue less." It was the first time Yekong had called Zhang Wei a wife in front of others, which made Chili Pepper both embarrassed and happy. Although nuns are not the same as mortal women, they are also somewhat influential, and status is still important for some nuns. Yekong is also sure of his idea. Anyway, it is time to touch it. If not for fear of the failure of the foundation, even the last step will be done. Besides, Zhang Wei is also a very beautiful and cute girl. She has a bit of temper but has no bad intentions. Can she give her to others? Therefore, it is better to announce the relationship early, so that the small peppers can also build peace of mind. Zhang Weiqiao had two moving red clouds on her face, and she was embarrassed to look at Huang Zixuan, but just said to Duduo, "I haven't thanked my son yet." Duodu could auntie say the name of Li Heze. According to other people's Dongfu, it was the name of a real ancestor, but Li Heze is the period of refining gas, and Duodu is a level. If you call your brother disrespect, you see auntie learn the mundane called master? That's why Zhang Wei made Duoduo call his son. "Thank you, my son." Daodu had no tears on her face, and she was shy and timid. "Well, then you can do it well." Yekong was sober, so he would not be blinded by surface phenomena. Duoduo didn't tell Master Li more, hiding behind the two girls. Yekong asked Zhang Wei to take the flowers to Lingtian orchard to arrange affairs. In fact, for people who have been taking care of Lingtian for a long time, there are not many things in Yekendong house, and the area of Lingtian is not very large. It is enough to spend 1 column of incense once a day. This is also a blossoming part-time job. The reason? After a while, Zhang Wei and they came back with blossoming flowers. As soon as they came back, Huang Zixuan said, "Hey brother, I heard that you also set a bonus." Yeah, Yekong nodded. Huang Zixuan asked again, "How much is the bonus?" "I'm not sure, it depends on her performance." Yekong glanced at her, and the little girl was really a fan of money and a ghost, and she didn't dare to tell herself, so Huang Zixuan said. Yekong's stare scared Duduo to hide behind the two girls. Huang Zixuan knew that even the brothers Easy gave a lot, but she felt that the little girl was pitiful. He's give her a bonus of 10 spirit stones per month. Huang Zixuan held Yekong's arm, swayed back and forth, her mouth narrowed, and her large eyes looked at Yekong with a plea. 10 spirit stones. The bonus is higher than the salary. Although Yekong didn't care about the spirit stones, he wouldn't do anything wrong. Just 10 yuan, I promised her. Huang Zixuan clasped someone's arm again, and choked a few times. Forget it, even with the crush of Cucumber Crush, there are more than 10 spirit stones. Yekong said helplessly, well, but I have to declare in advance that the bonus is a reward for your good performance. If there is an error, I have the right not to pay the bonus. After listening to the blossoming, Pink Dudu's face was bitter, and his upper body was tilted, seeming to have another sign of crying. Huang Zixuan hurriedly touched Duoduo's head and said, Duoduo doesn't cry. He is stingy. Leave him alone. If he doesn't give it, I will give it. Duoduo immediately turned cloudy to sunny, crisply said, thank you Xianxia's sister. This little girl really was very ghostly. While holding Huang Zixuan, holding hands with Zhang Wei, she turned back to Yekong with a proud and sly smile. Yekong smiled coldly. Little girl, you haven't stayed in the courtyard of the deep house, the master has a lot of ways to toss him down. How dare to fight against Ben Ben? So when Duo left, Yekong sent her out of the ban. She whispered, from today you are my Dongfu internship Yawan, but you understand what is the work of Yawan besides watching the medicine garden. Someone chuckled, tell you, you have to be on your side while your master and wife are acting. Acting? Duduo was puzzled. Things in the house, Yekong sneered, trying to see the little girl panicking. But I didn't expect that. Duoduo just blushed and raised her chest with her hips. What's the problem? Ben Yawan is just wanting to see it. After blossoming, he glanced provocatively at a black man. Want to scare this girl and dream? Yekong gritted his teeth, huh? It will give you a chance. Beginning the next day, blossoming part-time Yawan work began. What surprised Yekong was that the blossoming work was still very responsible. The plants in Lingtian and Ling Orchard were growing well, much better than before she came, and she also had some strange spells. After application, Lingtian, the weeds inside are no longer growing. Therefore, within a few days, Yekong turned this little girl from her internship into a formal girl ring. Yekong was a little curious about her. She always felt that her spiritual power was different, but she could feel it carefully, but she could not feel the difference. I wondered what basic exercises she was practicing, but she couldn't ask. The basic exercises are also the secrets of the monks. If you don't want to say that others are hard to ask, like Yekong, no one has ever asked him what basic exercises he has practiced. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Jian Yi. Chapter 385. Number 385 Avenue. Duoduo came here every day, and the relationship with Zhang Wei Huang Zixuan was even closer. Yekong didn't say much. I believe that Zhang Wei still knows the size, let alone many of his secrets. In the past 2 months, Cao Muking asked Daodu to remind a black person more than once, and don't forget the gift she needed most. Yekong naturally let Duoduo take the words back, please be assured that Sister Cao will definitely give her before entering the battle. The years of Xianxia passed by in a hurry, and the 2 months were just an instant. Wuquilai, August 16th, should marry, open, soil, no taboos. This day is also the day when the big battle is about to start. In the early morning, the sky is still unknown, and a dull call bell is heard in the direction of Neidiantang. The ringing bells are not ordinary mundane bells, but bells with powerful mana that can penetrate various prohibitions and formations. Don't underestimate this bell. This bell is called Das Hong Innocent Bell, which means that where the bell sounds, Xianxia Avenue is chanted, there is no one to stop, no place to prevent, no dirt to hide. The most surprising thing is that this bell turned out to be an ancient treasure. However, there are regrets. Although this innocent clock is an ancient treasure, it does not have the function of defense or attack, it is just a powerful auxiliary magic weapon. Because of this tastelessness, the Das Hong Innocent Bell was not used to preach the truth in Yunfuzong, but something happened in the zone, or it was attacked by people to call the disciples. Today's ringing is not being attacked by people, but a major event that has started, calling for the 150 disciples to enter the battle. It is time. Hearing the bell, Yekong stowed all the items, looked around, and brought all the items together, so he left the quiet room. When I came out, Zhang Huai and Huang Zixuan were already waiting outside. As soon as Yekong enters the battlefield, they will also retreat and build the foundation. After all, they have been delaying for a long time in the successful completion of gas refining. I hope that when I come out, there are two beautiful Jurchens standing in front of me. Yekong smiled and hugged the two girls next to each other. Relax, we will, 3 years said quickly, and some days. Zhang Huai thought that it would take a long time to see a black man, and his heart was sad. Looking at Zhang Huai's miserable appearance, Yekong laughed. It's not a life or death, 3 years, but just a flick of a finger to laugh. Although Zhang Huai laughed, the tip of his nose was a little red. Yekong couldn't bear to look at it, and wrapped his waist in his arms. Come on, let's kiss goodbye. No, Xian is still. Zhang Huai wanted to refuse, but a pair of fiery lips had been pressed up indiscriminately. It's not the first time these two guys have been in love in front of Huang Zixuan, so Huang Zixuan is not strange. In other words, carrying sister Wu Yi, she hasn't let her brother kiss him. Zhang Huai shy away Yekong and ran out. Shameless, you deliberately, Huang Zixuan scorned the kid. But she was also very happy, at least brother Heza was still thinking about herself, so she deliberately shy away Wu Yi, and just wanted to give her a farewell kiss. After saying goodbye to the two girls, when they left Dongfu, they saw a rushing girl rushing over. Although the sky was not bright, there were many moonstones along the main road, which illuminated the main road like daylight. Finally we caught up, our ancestors said, if you don't give anything today, don't even think about entering the battle. Dao Duo stopped suddenly in front of a hooligan. Oh, you happen to be here. I was going to send things away. Since you're here, let me hand them over. Yekong finished, patted the storage bag, and took out a wooden box that looked very delicate. Blossoming. But this girl suddenly had a sly smile in her big eyes. She didn't pick up the box and said, our ancestor only let me pass the message, but didn't let me pass it on. If you are not afraid of trouble, you will. Yekong certainly knew what this little fortune fan was going to say. Haha smiled and patted the storage bag again. A happy smile, your boy is on the road. But to her surprise, Li Heza did not take out the spirit stone, but 2 large ingots of 50 silver. Hey, what do our cultivators want to do with silver? Could it be that you are so excited to be in a big team that you are so disheartened? Dodo asked. Young, remember to speak with a bit of morality. Yekong stuffed the wooden box and silver into Oduo's hands, striding past her. Hey, what do you mean, what do you do for me? Dodo asked, turning back. Yekong didn't look back, his footsteps didn't stop, but the voice came far away, I'll give you silver to buy a suitable inner show for the women's clothing workshop on East 9th Street in Surabaya City, which is good for your physical development. You bastard. Hooligan, Duduo flushed with blush. Anyway, he is not a good person. The reminder is false, and the teasing is true. Dudu wrinkled his nose and snorted, and just wanted to run back, and quickly slowed down and walked back. Little girl wants to fight with me, Yekong smiled proudly, and thought of Cao Mooking's expression when he saw the gift. He couldn't help laughing, even if your master is not my opponent. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 386. 3869 Transcendence. The sky was twilight, the moon had completely disappeared, and the pale black hair was on the side of the blue sky, and the star appeared brighter. The tall inner blade hall is magnificent, and the eaves bucket arch is even more towering in the dark. In the square in front of the inner hall, thin white clouds like white mist flowed on the white marble floor. The last time the area was repaired earlier than the place destroyed by the stone. On the side of the square, there are a group of people. The square is too large, so there are not many 200 people standing here. The more than 150 number in the crowd is the disciples who have qualified for the match this time. They are all spirited and excited, and even old guys like Lin Tianwu stand up to the benchmark. Could not help them not to be excited. The most important thing for a monk to do is to cultivate quickly, which means that he will always be one step ahead of others. If it is slow, it means that you can never beat others. Right now, they have the opportunity to quickly improve their cultivation. In the words of Lan Tianming, don't say 3 years. If it is 30 years, 300 years is good. This group of monks came out in 3 years. I am afraid that many people will build the foundation, and many people will be able to form a den. Of course, there may be people who can't make it, and Bai is happy. When Yekong arrived, everyone had already arrived. Cao Junfan, Zhang Wulin, Li Ruo, Lan Lanming, Ye Xian, Dong Er, seeing Yekong coming, their faces suddenly smiled. Although Yekong's cultivation is not the highest among them, there is no doubt that Yekong has become a leader and a spiritual pillar in their hearts. Hey Zixian, why did you come so late? Couldn't Spring Dream last night be too unbearable? Cao Junfan wanted to confuse him again. Yekong stared, if you scold me again, I will send you to see Jin Mao. I have a good relationship with Cao Mu recently. When Cao Junfan heard the gadget, Jun's face discolored and he didn't dare to speak. However, Zhang Wulin laughed, hey, I warn you as the grandfather, but we are not allowed to mess around with our martial arts. Rest assured that you don't mess around. Ye said to someone, then I won't mess around, I'll do it normally. At this moment Li Ruo laughed, if the sunspot really puts the woman on the hook, I am afraid that all the female monks are grateful. Everyone laughed, but only Ye shook his head and smiled bitterly, you forgive me, the so-called black person near me, I am afraid that I will be like that woman and change my sexual orientation, only interested in men. Yekong talked to his brothers, and Lan Tianming exclaimed exaggeratedly, wow, color/devil. You don't even let a man pass. Kang, suddenly, the innocent bell on the avenue was ringing again. With this sound, all the monks present felt a shock in their hearts, refreshed, so they stood in their positions. Yekong also felt a shock in his heart, but the shock was not deterred, but a kind of infinite but peaceful vibration. Very indescribable feeling. When I heard the moment when the bell of the avenue was ringing, it seemed that all the troubles and thoughts in my heart were shaken into powder at that moment, and the rest was only peaceful, calm, full of determination to tell. Although this innocent clock has no attack and defense functions, it is indeed a powerful ancient treasure. It is really good for spiritual practice. Yekong could not help but nodded and whispered. Cao Junfan next to him whispered at this moment, actually, the innocent bell of the avenue is not without defense and attack functions. In fact, it has a strong defense effect against the spiritual attacks of the demons. That's right, Yekong nodded, and if you deal with those who use illusions and illusions to attack, this innocent clock will indeed work wonders. While talking, Cao Guang in a plain white coat came out of Niajiantang. He came out alone, the large hall, the majestic treasure hall, and Cao Guangai Yuan's infancy cultivation, which further increased his momentum. The field calmed down immediately, and the crow was silent. Yu Fuzong's disciples. Today is the time to fulfill the special reward of Nuobuit. I am afraid that you have received news from various sources before. This special Nuobuit reward is to enter the 9th turn to train. The purpose of ringing the innocent bell on the road today is to tell you that the most important thing in the cultivation process is not the aura, but the determination of the Tao. Therefore, even if you enter the large array, you must rule out distractions and concentrate on cultivation. Cao Guang's voice echoed in the square in front of Nei Dian Tang. These words, like Yakong's long-held point of view, the most important thing for the cultivation of immortals is determination and persistence. But having said that, those monks who are stuck at the bottleneck and stop still have no determination? However, in comparison, those who practice asceticism are indeed the fastest. Cao Guang then said a series of encouraging cheering words. On earth, Ye did not know how much he had heard from the TV speeches of leaders at all levels and had no interest in it, so he asked Cao Junfen with these 9 revolutions, the Ling array was drawn. Junfen, don't laugh at me as ignorant. I have heard of the big team before, and I do know what it is. Only today I heard about Zhuzuan Yinling big team. How powerful is this big team? Yakong asked in a low voice. Finally, you have time to ask me. Cao Junfen smiled proudly and said, the so-called Zhuzuan Ling array is to use the pattern of the 9 palaces to display, well, do you understand the 9 palaces? You ancestor Ban Ban, you really think I'm a native? Yakong shouted, Zhegong? I know a little about gossip, do you understand? Cao Junfen rolled his eyes this time and asked, what is gossip? Gossip is the foundation of Zhegong. It is even more powerful than Zhegong, Yakong said with a stare, is it you or you asking me? Come on. Cao Junfen still eats the set, dare not ask more, and quickly said, the 9 turns and the spirit formation are based on a huge array of 9 palaces. There are 9 parts in the array. I do know much, but I know the function. It is to forcibly absorb nearby auras and make them more pure through a large array. It is good for practitioners. The speed of absorbing aura is faster and the cultivation time is shorter. Oh, that's the case, Yakong nodded, and then asked, since this array is so useful, why not put it earlier? This will make everyone's practice much faster. You only know one, not the other. Cao Junfen did not forget to damage Yakong in secret, so he said, the 9 revolutions have not only been lost for a long time, but also hurt the heavens. Because the large array absorbs the surroundings. If the Reiki is too violent, the surrounding Reiki will be scarce, and even the spiritual grass and trees will wither as a result. It is a method of killing chickens and eggs. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 387. Before March 1987. Yakong heard a shock, but did not expect that these 9 revolutions led the Ling array to be so overbearing and forcibly absorbed the surrounding aura, and even said that the spiritual grass and trees would die as a result, which is really extraordinary. But the question is, why did Cao Guang at this time put out this method of killing chickens and eggs to spawn a group of monks, and the monks' cultivation is not too high, at most, there are more monks who build foundations and bear den. Seeing Yakong surprised, Cao Junfen also said, I heard that the operation of the 9 turns and the spiritual array is very labor-intensive. Each of the arrays in the Zhegong requires a top-quality spirit stone to start, and it needs to be replaced once in 60 days, so even if you are in a position not to be afraid of losing your aura, generally the martial arts cannot come up with such spirit stones. Need so many spirit stones? Yakong was surprised again. The most commonly used spirit stones are low-quality spirit stones. 100 high-quality spirit stones can be replaced with 1 medium-quality spirit stone, while 100 medium-quality spirit stones can be replaced with one high-quality spirit stone. In other words, a top-grade spirit stone is 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. And these 9 revolutions lead to the spirit array. Each time it needs 90,000 spirit stones, and it needs to be replaced every 60 days, 3 years. The light spirit stones will cost millions. Yunfuzong is really rich. Yekong could not help but sigh. What are you, Yunfuzong? Cao Junfan snorted, dissatisfied, and said, where can I get so many spirit stones? By selling amulet paper. If we don't have 2 large, 1 small, 3 spirit stone mines in Yunfuzong, how can there be? The spirit stone arranges this formation. No wonder. Yekong nodded, to say why these Xianxian factions are rich, not because they have taken over the Lingxi mine. With the Lingxi mine, it is equivalent to having a money printing machine. Why are those barbarians so poor? It's not that there is no spirit stone mine. As they said, they heard Cao Guang's tone changed, and said, this time, letting everyone enter the practice, it's not a white advance. 3 years later, when everyone's strength has increased, they will be sent to perform a project. Martial mission. To remind everyone, this martial mission can be described as arduous, and there will be danger to life. After listening to Cao Guang's words, those disciples were frustrated. No one expected that there would be such a thing. Everyone would like to speed up the cultivation, but if you want to use the cost of life, no one is willing. After a brief stupefaction, the buzzing noises rang, and many disciples were summing up. It was not worthwhile to enter the 9 turns to attract the spirit array. But then, Cao Guang shouted again, although this mission is very dangerous and may even lose my life. But I want to tell you that if you succeed, the reward will be generous. Even, you can get the opportunity to rise to immortality. Cao Guang said that many disciples' eyes were shining again. You know, the ultimate goal of the people who cultivate immortals is to become immortals. Otherwise, even if they live a few hundred years old, they will end up dead. If you don't want to enter the team, you can leave now. No one will laugh at you, but I have to tell you a secret. There are already some disciples who want to retreat. After all, flying up is not something you can talk about. If you can flying up, why don't you see Cao Guang yourself? There was another secret, and the crowd stopped again. Just listen to Cao Guang said, according to some of the information I have received, within a few years, there will be a catastrophe in the Kangnan continent. I guess this catastrophe may be no less than the War of Immortals and Magic. So, even if you do enter the university, you must also work hard to promote cultivation, otherwise no one will be able to protect you from the catastrophe. Havoc. Oh my God, there is even a catastrophe, which is not inferior to the War of Immortals. Many disciples are stunned. If it is what Cao Guang said, then late death and early death are all about to die. It is better to enter a large array to improve their cultivation, and there is still a possibility of survival in the catastrophe. Of course, some disciples wonder if Cao Guang is lying. However, everyone has a mind, and they can think of why Cao Guang is setting off this hurtful 9-turn psychic formation at this moment, and it is clear that something really is going to happen in the Kangnan continent. Moreover, it is not necessary for Cao Guang to lie in front of so many people. If it is spread, the credibility of Cao Guang and Yunfuzong will be completely destroyed. Would you like to go out? Cao Junfan asked with a smile. I'm going out. Yekong rolled his eyes. With regard to Cao Guang's words, Yekong was convinced. Overhearing Cao Guang and Hung Hom that day, it was obvious that this was the case. But even if what Cao Guang said was true, Ye did not have to give his life to the old man. Cao Guang's words did not have any appeal to him. According to the introduction of the 5 elements and the Immortal Sutra, it was only a matter of time before he would soar. What really made Xianxia decide to enter the fascinating array was that he felt that there was good fruit to eat first, and when the time was up, he ran away depending on the situation. Anyway, he was not Li Hizi, and he was not afraid to chase him. After Cao Guang's flicker, none of the 150 disciples left. The next step is registration. Ye Kong knew that when asked, it turned out that these 9 revolutions had not spent the past 3 years in the array every other year, the disciples would be revised for comparison. If a practitioner of gas refining enters the battlefield 1 year later, he will be driven out of the battlefield and replaced by another person. The assessment time for Zuji's disciples is 2 years. In order to prevent the disciples from deliberately reporting low practice, several monks Jidan stood beside the statistics point, and swept one by one with the eye technique to determine the current practice. When the statistics were completed one by one, the sun had come out, standing on the square of the inner hall, looking at the distant sky, a fiery red sun spurted out, dispersing the clouds, and it really made people feel refreshed. However, at this time, no disciples would care about these. They all have illusions and worries about the future. Who knows what will happen in 3 years? Who knows what catastrophe is coming? What is that mysterious and challenging task? However, Ye Kong considers, where will the 9 revolutions set up? If it is set in Yunfuzong, then 3 years later, Yunfuzong's aura is thin, so should others practice it? Obviously, Cao Guang would not be stupid enough to arrange such an array in the section. After all, the so-called catastrophe has not yet occurred, and no one would do such stupid things. Where will it be? Ye Kong guessed that it might be near the mine in Yunfuzong. He has never been to the Lingxi mine, and would like to see what it is. Of course, it would be even better if he could hold a sheep. When the disciples of all the disciples were counted, they saw Cao Guang screaming and drinking, and only listening to the boom, a 3-headed python appeared on the cliff gap of the platform. Ye Kong looked intently again. This strange python actually felt familiar. The double-headed green scale python turned into 3 heads. It seems to have been equivalent to the repair of the Dandan period. A disciple screamed behind him. Ye Kong noticed that this was the double-headed green scale python that attacked the drug garden last night. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 388. The Most Needed. Cao Mu loves Dongfu. Cao Muking, dressed in loose clothes, was lying crooked on a soft couch. Her black hair was scattered, covering the wonderful snow-like face. One by one came in step by step, came to the side of the couch, and carefully handed it up, holding the wooden box, and said, "Dear ancestor, this is the gift that Li Hizi gave you." Cao Muking, who was staring at the top of the room, blinked with big eyes and immediately sat up. She was playing a note with a slender finger. If the blossoming flowers never came again, she would send a note and let their black people stay. But since things came, she didn't need to send a voice. Throwing the note aside, I took the wooden box from Daodu, thinking in my heart, what the is this Li Hizi giving? How can he be sure I need this? I don't know what I need most. What? Cao Muking went to the wooden box with her hands, her legs flexed, and she sat upright. As soon as Duoduo was gone, Cao Muking exclaimed with an exclamation. There was something in her heart. Did the blackbird put something against the ancestor? One after another went to see. I saw a stick in the wooden box. This is not a dangerous thing. Why did the ancestor scream? One after another looked at the contents of the box doubtfully, and then looked at Cao Muking, who was crimson and crimson. Just when she wanted to ask, they heard Cao Muking roar. Dash! He sent me such ridiculous things, Cao Muking shouted, smashing out even the boxes. The wooden box was only made of ordinary peach wood. After this fall, it was immediately torn apart, but the contents inside were not broken. It bounced twice on the ground and dropped out a bad stone. Seeing Cao Muking's anger soaring into the sky, Blossoming, scared and afraid to speak, hurried to clean up the wooden box debris on the ground. but when she tried to grab the short stick with her fingers, she heard Cao Mooking on the couch whisper, and then saw that thing flew up into Cao Mooking's hands. Although Cao Mooking had never had a relationship with a man in her life, she was not like a little girl like Mutuo, so she knew what it was as soon as she saw it. When I saw this, Cao Mooking felt annoyed at first. This black swindler was so deceiving that he teased me so much and made a man of wood to humiliate me. I must kill you. However, seeing that the thing didn't break down and the spirit stone fell out again, Cao Mooking took another look and found that the fake thing turned out to be a magic weapon. Cao Mooking immediately thought, if he was going to humiliate me, just make a wood and carve it, why bother to make a magic weapon so hard? With this kind of thought in mind, Cao Mooking's anger was also suppressed, and it was realistic to invite the magic weapon to look at it. Bring that spirit stone, Cao Mooking ordered. Odoudou didn't dare to neglect, and quickly picked up the spirit stone and sent it to him, but he was even more confused. It's strange that my ancestors started to see this thing ignite so much fire, but why did he pick it back? Then something more bizarre happened. When the ancestor put in the spirit stone, the strange short stick buzzed and shook, then, the shaking stopped, and the front part of the thing turned back. This is actually a magic weapon. But Duoduo couldn't think of breaking her head. What is this instrument for? Attack? Defense? Or auxiliary? Seems useless. However, it can be seen that Cao Mooking's ancestors liked it very much, because the ancestor had covered his mouth and giggled, and finally turned around and stunned. This black magpie is a wonderful person who knows the heart, he, but also loses. He designed an inferior device that is unique to Kangnan, hey. It's shameless. Although Cao Mooking was scolding Li Hizi, Duduo felt that his ancestors were very happy, especially the expression of eyesight, shame, scolding and exaggerating expressions, which Duoduo had never seen. Seeing Duoduo's eyes fixed, Cao Mooking quickly put away the implement, looking cold, and asked, Duoduo, who else has seen this thing? Duoduo quickly hurriedly looked back and said, no, I will take it back after Li Gongzi gave it to me. I didn't see it myself. Duoduo found that his ancestors had changed his attitude towards the blackbird, and quickly changed the blackbird to male son. What son, you're just an inferior embryo. Cao Mu took a sigh of relief, a wave of hair covering her white face, and asked, when someone inferior embryo made this thing, did anyone know? No, even if Zhang Weihai and Huang Zixuan didn't know it, they were still guessing what he had been cutting during this time. Duoduo answered truthfully. He's taken the trouble. Cao Mooking added a little more favor to someone, and hummed, I think he's almost perfect, and I'm sure he won't be stupid enough to go public. He said to Duoduo, no one can say this. If I knew you were going out, I would take your life. Blossoming with a pout, she went out, thinking in her heart that it was all that abominable Li Hizi, and she didn't know what her ancestor was sending, so she made her threaten herself like this. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Jian Yi. Chapter 389. Let's go. Large array. Oh, there are moles and blood vessels on the top. The carving is really realistic. I don't know who the blackbird was carved to. Cao Mooking laughed again suddenly. Bachan was carved under him. This is really bold, Cao Mu cursed, but he wasn't upset. Even if he carved it to himself, it was not true. When Cao Mu was thinking about it, he shouted to the outside, Duoduo, call me Mrser. Imagine how Cao Mooking dealt with her second wife. At this moment, Yekong and the other disciples had all stood on the wide solid backs of the three green scale pythons. What was unexpected was that the pythons could fly, and looking at the stout body, it was somewhat similar to the dragon. The area on the back of the python was not small, and more than 100 people stood up without feeling crowded. The old man Cao Guang stood proudly on the top of a triangular head in the middle of a python. Even if the sleeves were swayed by the wind, looking at the back, Many disciples were fascinated, but yes snorted. Position 13, I see more. What is so-called swaying silk and pretending to be 13? Brother Zizi's words are really novel. Cao Junfan asked again. You don't understand after saying that, but I have something to ask you. Yekong didn't talk to him, and asked, is the spirit beast breaking through a layer of realm and adding a head? Yekong is very puzzled about this problem. He has also seen the cultivation of high-level monsters, such as Huaikui, that can be transformed, and the old lady of Deu, the mother dragon, is also about to transform. Why didn't you see them grow? How many heads? Also, I have seen the 5 poisonous beasts during the Yuanying period in Bulinling Mountain, and I have not seen them grow a few heads. Cao Junfan and others are not clear about this kind of problem, but just said, some demon repairs will increase their heads, and some won't. It may be determined by the type of demon repairs. It's stupid, long-headed, that's a mutant beast that can be upgraded, Deu reminded Yekong a word. Then Deu explained it again, which made Yekong somewhat understand. In this world, there are also many types of demon spiritual beasts, with different forms. Some are born with an infancy, or even higher. However, most spirit beasts cannot be upgraded, that is, they are fixed after birth. But there are a few other spirit beasts. They are born at a very low level, but they can be cultivated and upgraded. Of course, there is also a bottleneck problem here. Some spirit beasts cannot reach the level when they are born to a certain level, but some spirit beasts can be upgraded to soar. Elephant beasts are the best among them. Born to practice, there is no bottleneck for upgrading. As long as it is not unlucky to be killed, ascension is a matter of time, but it is a long time. In the current Kangnan continent, the beasts have disappeared. In addition to the beasts, there are also some spirit beasts that can be cultivated by nature, but there are bottlenecks to upgrade, some are high, and some are low, just like the green snake that Yekong bought to draw the firebird curse. This kind of spirit beast actually belongs to the sub-beast, and they are more or less related to the beast. At present, there are few sub-beasts in the Kangnan continent. As for the green snake, it's a long way away. It's really well qualified and it has nothing to do. It can reach the infancy of the Yuan dynasty. Then there is another kind, that is, ordinary spirit beasts have mutated. There are many kinds of mutations, and most of them are stronger. What can happen is the appearance variation, the level increase, the strength becomes stronger, and there is also a part that is from being unable to upgrade to being upgradable. The blue scale python belongs to this category, and the obvious sign of this category is that it will grow its head. Generally speaking, the transformation from ordinary spirit beasts to upgradable spirit beasts is very powerful and can be upgraded a lot, so this is the favorite of monks in the Yuan infant period. There is a mutant spirit beast that can be upgraded, that is, the monks who brag about each other's capital. Cultivating such ordinary mutant spirit beasts is also very complicated and professional. Often, the ancestors of the infant babies sit together and compare, that is, several heads of your spirit beast, several heads of my spirit beast, 2 heads and 3 heads, and 5 heads 6 heads are rare. As for 9 heads, that brother is just a legend. Yekong talked with Deu. Others thought he was meditating, so he didn't dare to bother. After about an hour, he finally arrived at his destination. This place is an unknown hill. The hilltop is not large and bare. The hooligan thinking like Yamao feels that this hill is like a girl's ex-room. However, it is very strange that the hills are surrounded by lush ancient forests. I don't know why this hill has no grass. If you take a closer look, you will understand why this mountain bag is not without trees, but was cut down because there are still many incomplete tree stumps and pits exposed unsightly there. Looking at it in more detail, you will also find that there are numerous stone chambers dug up and down around the hills. Each stone chamber has a stone gate in front of it. Dense stone chambers, there are no 200, there are more than 100. It seems that this is the place to stay in the last 3 years, that is to say, Cao Guang is not stupid enough to set up such a large array in Yunfuzong. After coming here, after all the disciples observed the environment, they quickly sensed the abundance of Reiki. But to their disappointment, although the aura here is still abundant, it is still a lot worse than Yunfuzongli. However, no one was worried. After all, the 9 turns of the spirit movement has not yet started. If it started, presumably this will not be the case now. In fact, Yekong is most happy that everyone has an independent stone room for cultivation. He had always worried that if everyone practiced together, he would not be able to do secret things. Now it seems that those troubles are gone. Everyone has a stone room, and the stone room has heavy stone gates. Not to mention cultivation in it, just firing guns in it, no one will know. 3 blue-scale pythons stop at the foot of the hill. Before stopping, I saw 3 monks, 2 men and 1 woman, also wearing Yunfuzong robes flying on the mountain bag. The realm is too different, and disciples like Yekong can't use sky eyes to see their cultivation, but Jin Yun on their chests has already shown their status in Zhongli. The 3 men's white robes were dotted with a huge cloud of gold. Yekong has never seen such a sign, but it seems that the large cloud of gold is larger than Cao Guang's 9 clouds. Ah, it is Elder Yuan Ying. It is Elder Yuan Ying who never appeared in Zone Nei. Among the denominations, the Elder Yuan Ying is even more respected than his ancestor. The cultivation of these people is higher than the cultivation of the ancestors, but they never go out easily, that is, they belong to the ascetic family. What really played a deterrent role was actually these elder babies, and the appearance of 3 today is even more extraordinary. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 390. Nothing to do with 3 or 9. Uncle Luo Yu, Uncle Luo Shui, Uncle Su, and young nephew Cao Guang are polite. Cao Guang saw the 3 men coming over, and quickly flew off the python head to salute. Yekong didn't recognize them, and was muttering that Cao Guang told Master Shi that he could not become a monk. Then he heard someone screaming behind him. It turned out to be the ancestors' uncle and aunt, Cao Luoyu and Cao Luoxiu. Yekong was surprised when he heard it. He only knew that they were the elders of Yuan Ying of Yunfuzong, but he did not expect to be Cao Guang's elder. Look at the 3 people again. The man is like a middle-aged scribe, and the woman is also pretty. Yekong can't help but sigh. The monk must not judge his age by appearance. Jun Feng, your great ancestor is here, and you haven't seen the ceremony yet, Yekong whispered to remind Cao Junfen. Cao Junfen stood still, and said with a bitter smile, they are all hard-working people. If the secular people do not understand after hearing 80%, what is the relationship between you and the ascetic, if you go to see the ceremony? But the monk understood everything. The ascetic people are obsessed with forgetfulness, cut off everything, and have no desire or desire. They only ask Xiuxian Avenue, regardless of the red dust. To some extent, this has certain similarities with teachings such as being homeless and jumping out of the dust of Buddhism on earth. Maybe someone is unclear. In other words, these ascetic people are fatherless, motherless, relatives and familyless. Hey, are you my father? Sorry, I don't have a father. If you become a monk or a monk, you will become a monk as soon as you are shaved. If you say dad, then there is only the Buddha. For the so-called family and friendship, for them, they are obstacles on the road to cultivation, and they must be cut off with Huijian. Of course, these people are not bad people, and most of them are very good-hearted. This is a way of cultivation for them, but it is difficult for the world's people to understand. When Cao Junfen said this, he understood that people would not recognize your great-grandson. Where did you go to see Zilli? So it is, What about their cultivation? Yekong asked again. The ancestors of Lu Yu and Swexu are all in the middle of Yuanying. So, Suziwei, the ancestor of Suyuanyi, heard that Chong Yuanying was a master monk in the later years, and he did not know if there was a breakthrough. Yekong nodded. Cow, these are all monks or close to them, they are already standing at the top of the pyramid. I do not know when I will have such a practice, which is really enviable. The ancestor of the surname Cao is the old Cao family, so what is the origin of Master Sugai? Lan Ming asked around. Cao Junfan kept his voice to a minimum and said, I also heard that Suziu was a disciple of Yun Fuzong. When he was practicing, he secretly fell in love with Patriarch Luo Shui. Unfortunately, Patriarch Luo Shui started to look down on Patriarch Su Shui. Under the influence of the ancestor Luo Yu, he also embarked on the path of ascetic practice, so later, the ancestor Sugai also became an ascetic monk. Several brothers were surprised when they heard this, and Lan Tianming asked, is this ancestor Susu waiting for the ancestor Luo Shui for hundreds of years? I think so, Zhang Wulin said. This ancestor of Sugai's practice can be said to relax in the Kangnan continent. Which high school does not want to solicit, and what beautiful female practitioners do not want to serve, and he but still staying in Yun Fuzong as a monk, the only possibility is that he still has a crush on Master Shui Shui. I also think that penance is false, and it is true to keep silently by the ancestor Luo Shui. Li Yao and Dong nodded quickly. Cao Junfan also said, it's not what you said, in fact everyone knows it, but Master Shui Shui pretended not to know. Several people were discussing, and suddenly a powerful consciousness swept over. How powerful the monk Yuanying's magical power was, how they could escape their consciousness in their discussions more than 100 years ago. Obviously, they were somewhat annoyed by the ancestor Luo Shui who was discussing them, so they warned them. No one dared to offend Yuanying monk, even Cao Junfan didn't dare. Everyone hurried to keep silent. In the face of the powerful consciousness of Yuanying, their cultivation was nothing. When Cao Guang was found angry, Cao Guang was also startled, and quickly laughed. 3 uncles opened up cultivation places for these guys, and they talked wildly and should have been punished, but one of them was my son Cao Beihang's son-in-law. The other is an important candidate for the task, so please ask master and uncle to take heavy responsibility. It's nothing, Cao Luoxiu snorted. They were all juniors and had some blood relationship with herself. Cao Guang pleaded, and she didn't want to hold it. However, Cao Guang was troublesome, and he called Cao Junfan and Li Hiza to accompany Cao Luoxiu, and apologized. Who knew this? Something happened. Ye has always been an unpleasant temper. This has been the case from the beginning and will not change at any time. Grandma, the grandson Li Hiza talked about the grandma, please punish him. Ye Kongxin made a gift. Cao Luoxiu listened to his funny address, could not help but smile a little, and waved, well, good cultivation is Fuyun Zone Yun. It's okay to get here, but who knows that Li Hiza said, Grandma, please look at this ancestor Sujinyi next to you. The ancestor Su is so handsome, tall, and straightforward, he is so high, it's a lot of people. Long Feng. More importantly, he is 100 years long, unswerving, letting people look up. It is no exaggeration to say that Suzushi is definitely the Kangnankai man, Yun Fuwei's husband. How many women love the Diamond King, the 5th child? The absolute beetle that counts the opposite is crazy. This guy actually said this in person. Cao Guang, Cao Junfan all sweated. Cao Junfan even thought, brother, no, you are bold, you don't have to prove it like this. Do you know what the concept of the ancestor of Yuan was? Do NT kill your fingers? That Sugong guy, I was also startled. He had a crush on it for hundreds of years. He didn't have the courage to say it, but he didn't expect to be picked out by a small gas refiner today. He was unhappy at first, but he was overjoyed by this boast. Is Sujinyi so good, and what kind of words are there in the oldest five, the golden turtle? Cao Luoxiu also laughed at him. She stared at Yekong's eyes and asked, so, do you want to blend in with us? Not blending. Yekong Hua just exited, and was interrupted by Cao Luoxiu's scream. Do you dare to control the private affairs of Master Yuanying? What a courage! Are you impatient to live? Cao Luoxiu, who was still smiling, suddenly burst into drink. And she yelled aloud, which also used spiritual power, not to mention Yekong and Cao Junfan in front of her, even the distant woods trembling, and the other more than 100 disciples were astonished. One by one whispered in his heart, what private affairs did Li Heza care about? The Mad Cultivator. Author, Jian. Chapter 391. 391 Leaves Empty Matchmaking. Cao Guang even had the heart torn by this boy, scolded in your heart, your mother. Do you think you can't do anything with the birds? How does this matter to you? There are thousands of Yun Fuzong, hundreds of years, no one cares, what are you talking about? But Yekong has always been strong and strong. Although his head was buzzing, he still looked at Cao Luoxiu firmly and said, Patriarch, what I want to tell you is that not all truth needs to be cultivated to understand yes. Although I have 8 layers of gas, I can understand that love is love, and not love is not love. Give him if you love him, and let him go if you don't love him. Cao Luoxiu was so angry that he looked at someone with a pair of eyes, as if to kill the little ant barking in front of himself at any time. Yekong was right and righteous. If the ancestor loves ancestor Su, take the initiative to accept it. Li believes what Quan Yun Fuzong knows, but ancestor Luo Shui does not know. If the ancestor does not love ancestor Su, you should tell him that you do not like people are hanging people, what's the matter? If you don't love him, you should. After listening to a black man talking nonsense, Cao Luoxiu finally roared, who says I don't love? When Cao Luoxiu said something, he knew that he had said something wrong, and was angered for a while, and even said what he was saying. What's funny is that Cao Luoxiu's subsequent actions turned his head and gave Sujini a white look, and his young daughter scolded at home, you must have colluded with this minor repair to provoke me, the barnyard is gone. Falling snow. No, you listen to me. Sugianyi waited for hundreds of years before she heard the thoughts of her sweetheart. How could she not be overjoyed? Thank you, boy, I owe you a favor. Susuyi, Su said before flying away. UN monk's late monk owes you a favor? Is this okay? How many people can't sleep with sleep? But what surprised everyone was that a black man replied, Li said that this is not human, nor for the other. If a 7-foot man is afraid to say justice, he might as well retract his life in the crotch. Li's vulgarity has made everyone accustomed to it, but Cao Luoxiu is the first time to see this kid. From beginning to end, he stared at this arrogant and ignorant Likiu minor repair, and a little monk could be so crazy that it really opened his eyes. Boy, you can. I am optimistic about you. Cao Luoxiu gave thumbs to Yekong, and then flew away with his magic weapon. As soon as they left, Cao Guang finally broke out. Slap, a back brain patted on Yekong's head. Your boy will die no matter what his idle business is. You have to take care of the private affairs of Monk Yuanying. What do you say has anything to do with you? Cao Guang, who has always been kind and good-minded, couldn't help the fire. Cao Junfan gave a thumbs up, boy. You are really awesome, I will follow you later. Yekong smiled and patted him on the shoulder. You're so bold when I am. I have no fear. Oh? How? Look at the 3 of them, the one who is the highest is Suswanyi. I'm going to help him talk. If Cao Luoxiu wants to kill me, can he die or not? And Cao Luoxiu, a pair of wonderful eyes keep on Suswanyi. She said she had no affection. How could that be? After hearing this, Cao Junfan realized, dare you to be daring. Although Cao Junfan said this, everyone knows that there is no certain courage, no certain ability to express and judge, who dares to manage such things. Afraid of Yekong's trouble, Cao Guang hurriedly drove him into a quiet room at the foot of Shenbao Mountain. Even he wanted to hug a few good brothers. Huh, why did you let me be at the foot of the mountain? I'm going to the quiet room on the top of the mountain, or the mountainside, Yekong demanded, and now Cao Guang was his master, and he asked politely. Don't talk nonsense if you don't understand. Cao Guang grunted angrily and walked out of the quiet room. Yekong was not stupid. He stood at the door and watched, and saw that the 150 disciples had each entered the arranged stone room under the arrangement of the real person in charge, Zhongzihong. Yekong noticed that those monks who had great hopes of upgrading, including Cao Guang's grandson Cao Junfan, were arranged at the foot of the mountain. It looks like a good place at the foot of the mountain, Yekong nodded. But then he noticed the stone door of Shishi, and saw that the black door of the stone door was dark and thick, and he felt a thick and thick feeling, and if he looked carefully, Yekong found that this stone door was not ordinary stone, and this kind of stone he has seen it before. Of course, it is not the kind of black stone seen in the 5 elements array. Yun Fuzong hasn't got that kind of luxury yet. This kind of black stone was the one he had seen in the alchemy sect, and Yu Hao, the shopkeeper of the alchemy sect, showed it to him. If you remember correctly, this black stone is called black gold stone. At that time, Yu Hao introduced that this kind of black gold stone is a relatively hard ore and has the function of rebounding aura. Yes, it must be black gold stone. Yekong determined that this is the black gold stone he has ever seen. Because of the rebounding aura properties of this ore, Cao Guang used it to arrange the quiet room to prevent some aura from being affected. Stones are consumed invisibly. It was discovered that Shimen was made of black gold stone, and Yekong paid close attention to this observation. This observation revealed that the entire inner wall of the stone room was covered with black gold stone. Although the price of this black gold stone is not expensive, but it is such a large amount and it costs a lot, it seems that Yun Fuzong has really lost his blood this time, and I don't know how the effect will be after the large array is opened. Seeing these black gold stones, Yekong had his brain again. He had always been troubled by the food of gold-winged ants. Buying ordinary ore really ruined the gold-winged ants. He could not afford the money for the expensive ore. Now there are so many free black gold stones that do not let the gold-winged ants come out to eat and eat. I'm really sorry for those little lives. But it is certainly not wise to let the golden-winged ants appear in their own stone room. If someone is found to have such a powerful spirit, I am afraid they will be remembered. According to the book, this gold-winged ant is also called an ancient worm, and it is extraordinary to hear its name. And it has long since disappeared in this world. If exposed, I am afraid that the elders of Yuanying will suffer from red-eye disease. Therefore, Yekong can never be placed in his own stone room. But where is it not placed in its own stone room? I can't afford to look at so many black gold stones, right? Yekong leaning against the door of the quiet room, looking around like a pheasant in the dark door for a while. A black man grinned, and finally showed a harmless smile on humans and animals.